Hi guys, community, John here. This is going to be a little video where I show a new place, or at least a new place to me, a place that I've discovered that sells used records. I stumbled upon it by accident. It's a place called the Pumping Station, and I think we here in the UK would call it an antiques warehouse. I've heard people in the States and in Canada, I think Doug A said that he would be inclined to call that this type of place as an antiques mall. But yeah, you get the idea. It's quite a big place, actually quite attractive from outside. And I was there with my wife, and we were looking for, see if we could find some sort of antique brackets and cupboard handles and things for our new kitchen. We didn't really find any, but while I was there I kind of stumbled upon this great big stash of used records. And I guess any other time, maybe 5 years or so ago, that would have been quite amazing, because I don't think they were quite as trendy as they are now. But whoever owns this big lot, because you never actually meet the guy that owns these records to sell them, I think, yeah, like I said, 5 or 6 years ago, they'd probably be cheap as chips, or, you know, 2 for $5 or something like that. Unfortunately, the person that has these obviously knows there's some value in them, and he prices them accordingly. So I mean, although this is a great place to discover, I do have some beefs with it, which I'll describe in due course. Anyway, take a look at this. This is a little bit of footage from outside the place, and then a few bits and pieces inside. Excuse my shaky hand on the camera. I'm a pretty poor cameraman, really, but hopefully YouTube will fix that for me. as you can see, it's quite a lot of things there. One of my main beefs is the pricing of these things. They are sort of ridiculously high, and where this individual that owns them and prices them gets his information from, I don't know, but he does price them quite high, which wouldn't be so bad if if the majority of these records were in tip-top condition. Many of them are, but then again many of them aren't. Take a look at this bit. I tried to sort of find an example of some of the sort of ridiculous pricing of what I found there, and this is one that I pulled out that I thought had really no business being in a place like this. Should have gone in the bin, in the rubbish a long time ago, but there he was selling it for crazy price at all. I wouldn't I wouldn't give him a penny for it, let alone the price he was asking. Take a look at this. So when you see stuff like that, it sort of makes me grit my teeth. And while I was there, and while I've been there, it's great to browse through all the records, and sometimes it's just quite nice to see these things in real time in front of you rather than on a screen. But yeah, the shock comes as when you find something that you think, oh, this looks really good. I'm going to explore this, and then you look at the price and you get this kind of jolt, like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to pay that price. But there you go, it is what it is. I found another example of something as well. It's a record that I'm putting up now. I paid particular attention to that one because I recently acquired that record. Here it is. I didn't get it from there, and if I had done, it would have cost me a small fortune. I found this, which is a pretty good copy. Not flawless, but it's certainly in very, very good condition. Barely played, I would say. Look at that quality of that. It's lovely, really good shape. I paid £2 for that in a charity shop. There he was asking significantly more. I guess for me, that's what I want to show with that, is that you don't have to lay out loads and loads and loads and loads of money to get something as banal as a record. That's all you can do, but if you keep your eye on the ground and keep your ears peeled, you can more or less find these things relatively well priced. This is an old record. It's jazz, but I can tell when I try listening to this, I'm way out of my league. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this record, but it's like I said, it's in a different world to where I am at now regarding jazz. So I'm going to show you some of the records. I've been to this place now, 4 times. The first time was when I discovered it, and then I had my missus with me, and there was no chance I was going to have a chance to look. And then I've been back 3 other times, and I'm going to show you some of the records that I picked up while I was there. Quite happy with something. So the first time I went back on my own, just to browse and look, I picked up this one. This is Stevie Wonder, music of my mind. I think, correct me anybody if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first in his brown period, what they call the brown period. This is the one that I've looked out for a while now, so I was quite happy to find that there. Stevie Wonder, yeah. I guess past few years I've started to sort of take an interest just in this particular brown period. So that's cool to have. On that same trip, stumbled upon this there. So this is Soft Machine album 3rd. So yeah, anyone that knows me, I kind of really like prog. This is a sort of Canterbury scene record. Don't know much about the Canterbury scene, or at least I don't have much on it, let's put it that way. So it was quite nice to have found this. Pretty good shape. It's on CBS. Now, yeah, like I said, these records there aren't cheap. And although, you know, I've got my limits, some of these records, and this is a good example of that, took me to the outer limits of my spending. Yeah, I kind of asked myself if I'm doing the right thing or not. I guess in theory, if I hold out long enough, one of these things are going to turn up, you know, at a car boot sale or a charity shop, and there'll be a whole lot less. It'll probably be in a similar kind of condition, well, I guess maybe I'm a bit flush at the moment. I don't know. Maybe it's just holding these things in my hand, and I think, go for it, John. Get it now. Another Stevie Wonder record. So those were the first trip that I went there to browse and buy. This was the next one. Another Stevie Wonder record. It's a film soundtrack, The Secret Life of Plants. I think I'm right in understanding that it basically is the record that came out after the brown period, but that it's just on Motown. But that people kind of associate it with the brown period anyway. It's quite different. I mean, it got a little bit panned, I think, by the critics. I quite like it. It's very simplistic music. Quite beautiful to listen to. That was nice to have, great to find. So this is Fanny. Can't help but smile when I say that word. I don't know if people out there understand that Fanny it means a different. It's kind of a different kind of slang here in the UK compared to what the slang meaning is in the States. Google that. But so this is I think their 3rd album, Fanny Hill. Fanny are quite. They're an American band, but these two sisters here, they're from the Philippines originally, I believe, and they moved to the States and formed this band eventually when they grew up, of course. What was I going to say? Yeah, they're sort of quite unusual for being one of the very earliest all-female bands. Doug A showed this record, or this album, at some stage. It's on Reprise Records. Okay. A long time ago Doug showed this, I think, and I can remember thinking to myself, how interesting that would be to see if I can get a copy of that. So that was a long time ago. So I'm quite chuffed to have found that at this place. Grabbed it when I could. On that same trip I got this one. This is Samson. I believe this is Before the Storm. I believe this is the first Samson album they made after Bruce Dickinson had left. I like the cover. I really like their logo, which is on the label here. So great to have. I haven't seen much Samson out in the wild, so when I do see it, I grab it. You know, if it's not too expensive. This wasn't so outrageously expensive, but I'm glad to have it. Amazing cover there. Another record I was happy to find. This is one that I've been looking out for. Not really a grail, is it? It's a record that I've been curious about because John Sykes. I like his guitar sound. There he is there. If you listen to the last Thin Lizzy studio album, Thunder and Lightning, and also Whitesnake 1987 album, it's got this really sort of broad power chord type sound. So I've been curious really to sort of find out what this record would be like. I think it's his sort of first album, solo album anyway, sort of after becoming a big name. And yeah, it's good. It's there. It's got that sort of sound. I think the only thing that lets it down is the vocals. He sort of it's produced by Bob Rock, but his vocals are quite, you know, poor, and I think that's the only thing that lets this record down. Of course, if you made your name with vocalists like Phil Lynott or David Coverdale, however good you are afterwards, you know, singing for yourself, you're probably going to let the side down a bit. And that's the thing that brings this record down. Otherwise it could be so much better. If you got someone like Ian Gillan to sing or something, that would have been cool. So on that same trip I found, this is a grail. This is a record that I'm really happy to have. I've looked out for this for a while. This is the very first album by Renaissance. And I've been looking out for this. This is actually, I'd say this is a grail. It's one that I've consciously been thinking that I'd like to try and get hold of, and you don't see it. I once saw Fishman show it, I think. Remember Fishman? Before he lost his passion for record collecting. What's special about this is because really, well, if you don't know Renaissance, they're a progressive rock band, and they made a lot of records. Some very, very good records, but they're one of those bands that have they have no sort of original members in them. I think they had original members in the first couple of albums, and then they sort of continued, and eventually, none of the original members are left. But what's special about this is it's basically the band by Keith Relf. This guy, who, as you may know, was in the Yardbirds with Jimmy Page. Well, he was in the Yardbirds with Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck, amongst others. But after the Yardbirds, this is what he did. And I've been interested for a long time to kind of look at that transition from the Yardbirds to what eventually became the new Yardbirds or Led Zeppelin, and also Renaissance in its earliest form, and also, you know, what Jeff Beck was doing as well afterwards. And this kind of completes that, so I can, you know, look and listen to these things and sort of contemplate what I think of it all. Now, this last record I'm going to show, I got this yesterday because I went back to the pumping station to get a bit of footage and things. This is a total grail, and I snatched this up. Again, this, well, I'll say this one, and also this one, it's sort of the outer limits of spending for me for a record. I don't easily or happily lay out this kind of money for a record. If I can find it for £1 or two somewhere else, I will, and I'll often hold out. But this is one that I saw and I thought, I've got to get that. So this is the Beano album, the first Blues Breakers record, if you like. John Mayall, Eric Clapton, and it's a lovely, lovely condition copy. It's a 1972 or 1971 repress. But it's a real sort of cult classic, isn't it? I've been collecting records for many years. I've never seen this in the wild. So I grabbed this. I'll tell you now, and if my wife sees this, she'll nag at me afterwards. It cost me 20 quid. That's my outer limit. I don't spend more than 20 quid on a record. It's, for me, it's just, you don't need to. Yeah. I say that because I don't spend that much money lightly on a record, but this I thought, wow, that's cool. You never see this. I never see it in the wild. It's a lovely condition. All right, yeah, it's not an original pressing, but it's an early pressing, and it's just in fabulous condition. To be honest with you, I don't know why he wasn't charging more for it, because, you know, compared to all these other prices, beautiful condition. The shine on that. All of his other prices are just so extortionate, and especially if you consider this. Okay, £20, I think it's a lot of money. And that Police record I just showed, sure, in the state that it was, and he was asking what, £6 for that. I mean, that's right. It's more than a quarter of this price. So yeah, big growl, big smile. I've listened to this 3 or 4 times since I got it. I sat up late last night listening to it. Took the plunge. Wife's away, kids were in bed. Went back to bed after I got them off to school this morning, so I was able to sit up, drink a glass of wine or two, and enjoy this really to the full. It was lovely, really, really good. So those are the records that I've found in this pumping station because of the price of these things. You know, and it's not a place I'm going to go to very often. Just when I have you know, extra money burning in my pocket, I expect. But it's been a source of a few long sought after records for me. Look at this bit here. So here I find a record by Charlie Bird. I was going to grab this one too. He was asking £8 for it. A bit of a blind buy because I had no idea about it. I just thought the jazz guitar record. It would be interesting to sort of investigate that and listen to it. And I thought, well, I sat down before I left, and this is something that every self-respecting collector of used records should do. You know, take a bit of time and look at what you're buying, because when you get it home, if it's damaged or useless or whatever, it's too late, isn't it? So I sat down and yeah, I looked through the record and saw that the state of the vinyl was appalling. You can see here. And I just felt, you know, I'm not going to spend £8 on that. So I didn't. I put it back. I don't know. I'd probably spend as much as £1 on that if I found it in a charity shop or something, but even then I'd be sort of umming and ahhing about it because of the poor state of that record. Shame, because I would have liked to have listened to it, and since I've listened to it online, and yeah, it sounds like a record I'd like to investigate, but not at that price. Okay, well, thanks everybody for watching this. If you happen to be passing through Cardiff, check out that place. If you happen to be weighed down with wads of cash that you need to get rid of. Alright, well, thanks very much. Thanks for watching, everybody. There's lots of fun things happening on the VC at the moment. Check out my next video. Cheers, bye.